If you search online on how to glow up or how to reinvent yourself, the focus tends to be on the physical side of things, how to dress, your beauty maintenance routine. And while those things are important, they are superficial. Your capsule wardrobe, your fillers are only going to help you feel good for a moment, but they are not going to heal your insecurities or help you cultivate a life that honors who you are, who God designed you to be. At the lowest point of my life, I had a flat stomach, girl. I was a size 0 too. The girl was snatched. I had a stable job. I lived in a beautiful house. I had the husband and the 2 kids. My closet was overflowing with clothes and shoes and bags, and yet none of that stopped me from being riddled with anxiety and fear. Being surrounded by so many people and yet feeling incredibly lonely. On paper, my life was the perfect image of success, but I had no idea who I was, if where I was going was something that I actually wanted, or what my purpose was outside of going to work and raising kids. So if your focus is purely on the aesthetics of glowing up, there are so many amazing YouTube videos that will help you with that. This is not one of them. In this video, we are going to focus on the changes that you really need to glow up from the inside out to get you to the woman of your dreams. In that time of my life, I was allowing society and everyone around me define who I was. I was looking for my worth and my value in how I showed up for others. When you do that, your value can only be defined by how they need you. So if your husband is in a season where he is financially flourishing, his needs of you may look like someone who is going to hold down the fort and take care of the day-to-day responsibilities of the house and of the kids. But if his season changes to a season of financial strain, his needs of you may look different. He may need you to be someone who is financially contributing to the household. And so if those needs change, you might have an issue with your sense of purpose or your sense of value because you've attributed your value to how somebody had defined you. In one season, that definition was sufficient, but in the next season, it is now inadequate. So it's important for you to define your personal value outside of the roles that you play, outside of how other people need you to show up in their lives. You have to define who you are and what your value is based on your character, on what is important to you. So the first thing that I need you to do is to grab a journal. You know, I'm a fan of the Notes app on my iPhone, or even record a voice recording and spend some intentional time defining what is important to you. How do you want to show up in the world? And I want you to go past the I want to be a good mom, I'm a good worker, and go down to the fundamentals, the characteristics of who the dream version of you is. These are the core values that you're going to be making your life choices and your aspirations out of. So taking the time to do this is so important to the glow up, to reinventing yourself. When you face decisions, big or small, go back to these core values. Are your choices aligned with them? Because if you value honesty and integrity, and what somebody is asking of you requires that you step out of those core values, then you already know that decision is not for me, that relationship is not for me, that job opportunity is not for me, because it does not align with my core values. The best part of understanding your value system is it is going to get you to those superficial things that we like. Being dressed well, feeling good about ourselves, how we appear, because your values will feed into that result. But focusing on the superficial things first is not going to guarantee the internal work that you need to do for that glow up, for reinventing yourself. You haven't experienced real confidence like walking in your value system, making decisions out of who you are and not compromising on those things. I can deal with the ups and downs of life because, again, life be lifing, because I know that I am not defined by what I look like in this season or what I'm currently walking through. You are not a good mother because you cook every day. You are a good mother because you prioritize the health of your children. You're a good mother because you've raised them out of your value system. So when your children are no longer in the need of you to clothe them and feed them, you're not lost trying to figure out who you are as a person because you're not defining yourself based on how people need you. Come on, toxic boy mom TikTok. And if you're struggling to figure out what you actually value, there is one place that will always tell you the truth. Before we get into that, I want you to add a section to that list that we just defined earlier. And I want you to write down the things that you are currently struggling through. These are the things that you feel are keeping you from the glow up or keeping you from the dream version of yourself. If I looked at the profiles that are most shown in your Instagram feed or on your TikTok For You page, or even go through your watch history, I guarantee you that I can tell you what you value. And I wouldn't be surprised if I can gain insights in what you're currently struggling with. The reality is that we are influenced by the media and the content that we consume, the music that we listen to. The quicker that we understand that, the quicker that we can change what we're consuming and help us actually glow up. I want you to think back to your most recent purchases. How many of those purchases were influenced by something that you saw or heard about online or on a commercial? If you still watch commercials, because I pay for everything so I don't have to watch commercials anymore. But that's neither here nor there, okay? It is a reason why so many of us are putting up Christmas decorations earlier and earlier every year because we're seeing it. We're getting inspired by watching other women who inspire us, who motivate us to do these things. But when you are in that glow up or reinvention process, you cannot fall trap to developing an idea of what your dream self is based on what you're watching or what types of content you're consuming. Now, I want you to hear my heart on this. I do not think that this part of your journey requires isolation. I actually think that isolation is the thing that God needs to call you to because it can be very tricky to navigate. But this does call for you to limit your exposure to negativity, to comparison, adopting characteristics of the people that you watch that are not in alignment with your core principles and values, or even making idols out of the people who motivate or inspire you. If you've watched any of my other videos, then you know that I like to share out of my personal journey. So let's do a little bit of a story time, okay? My love language is, well, now it's a little bit of everything, like give me all of it. Thank you very much. But early on in my marriage, especially after we had Trey, my love language leaned heavily on acts of service. Serve, feed me, change some diapers, do the laundry, and actually put the clothes away. Oh, I am in love. I am in love. But there was a part in my marriage where I started to struggle with the ideas of my husband can't possibly love me the way that he says that he loves me because he wasn't surprising me with flowers or like random I love you gifts. And my idea of these random I love you gifts like jewelry. Girl, what? I am not saying that those wants and desires are bad. But for me, it didn't make sense, especially because I wasn't voicing these needs to him. All he knew and experienced in the 3 years that we were dating before we got married was that I like acts of service. Like I would say things like, don't get me flowers, boy, just change the oil in my car. Like that is what was important to me. So I didn't understand where these desires from and why I was giving this man the side eye because my expectations or what I wanted in my head was never something that we experienced in reality. But what was I consuming? At that point, I was consuming so much reality TV, and this was the era where the Housewives was like really just starting. Dating shows were a huge thing, like think Flavor of Flav. And so I was consuming a lot of content where women were getting wined and dined and just showered in gifts. And without me even realizing it, I was allowing this very scripted fabricated storylines to affect and influence how I valued love and the expression of love, when honestly, I didn't care about the flowers. I cared more about the dishes. And it just so happened that the timing of my glow up and reinvention journey fell in line with my mother's yearly Daniel's fast that she does with my childhood church. And she knew that I was on this journey, so she invited me to do this Daniel's fast with them. But at that time, I was plant-based. I'm not no more. And that diet is basically like a plant-based diet. So to up the ante, I threw in fasting from social media and reality TV. What started as a 30-day fast turned into over a year and a half of me off of social media and not consuming reality TV. Now that seems like a long time, but girl, the transformation that I experienced just by cutting out social media and reality TV was crazy. My relationship with God improved. Actually, I think this was the time that I finally experienced Jesus and building my own personal relationship with God. I was no longer viewing my children as a burden. I was actually enjoying the daily busyness, because you know how it is at this point. I had a toddler and a baby, and girl, it was crazy. And I think that is an experience that we don't see spoken about a lot. So if you want us to deep dive on that in another video, just let me know in the comments, girl. But I was able to see so much change and so much like lightness come into my life. I even started playing with fashion and discovering my personal style, because a lot of that went out of the window when I became a mom. Praise God that we're not there anymore. I was able to start enjoying my life right where I was, even though my circumstances had not changed. I was able to see the joy in my current situation just by cutting out the comparison. I was able to have this reset almost of, girl, this is actually what's important to you, and we're gonna focus on that, not on what other people are trying to tell you is important, because you don't care about that stuff for real. And I discovered that I actually had so much time because I wasn't filling every spare moment with consuming content or just like the endless scroll. I accidentally removed all of the distractions that was keeping me from my glow up, that was keeping me from starting the journey to become the woman that I wanted to be. So if you really want to glow up, you have to set boundaries around your time and your access. Your mind and the desires of your heart are way too valuable for you to just fill it up with content that makes you feel less than, that makes you feel inadequate, and robs you of your happiness, your peace, and your purpose. You got to protect your mind and learn when to say no, and that includes the type of content that you consume. You can control your timeline. Unfollow accounts that no longer serve you or just kind of feed into your anxiety or your comparison. And if you have accounts like friendships or people that you know that you feel uncomfortable with unfollowing them, girl, mute them. That is an option. But the most impactful part is not just removing content, but following people and accounts that do inspire you and motivate you in a healthy way. And this applies to real life. Saying no to people's expectations that don't align with what you value, and filling your community or the people that you interact with those who do. I saw Maya post in her Instagram stories recently. Y'all know Maya Glore is my girl, okay? But she posted in her stories this quote that I'm just gonna read to you because I don't wanna mess it up. It says, "I used to tolerate a lot because I didn't want to lose people. Now I establish boundaries because I don't want to lose myself." And girl, that thing touched me deep down in my soul, okay? That is the place that you need to get in order to get to the woman of your dreams. You end up compromising the dream version of you or God's design of you when you focus more on what people need from you. And so you start to bend to their value system instead of honoring yours. So you might lose some people in this process, and be prepared for the people who leave or no longer fit in with that core value system to surprise you. Do not be surprised when you find it is your closest friends or even your relationship or your partner that has to change once you start to be aligned in your principles and aligned in who God calls you to be. One of the reasons that we tend to see women who just went through a breakup or have moved to a new city start their glow up or transformation journeys is because they just frankly have more time to invest in and better themselves. And doesn't necessarily mean that they want to show that last partner up or show the city that they left, look at how good I'm doing. It really just comes down to having more time because you've cut certain things out of your life to focus on you. So even if you're not going through a breakup or not moving to a new city for a fresh new start, you can take a leaf out of their books and not overcommit yourself to people or to things. When I went on that Daniel's fast, God's timing is so perfect. It's crazy. But it just so happened to be at a time where my husband's work schedule has changed. Actually, he started working with a new company. And so the nature of his job, he was gone a lot of the time. So I kind of was like a solo parent when it came to the daily responsibilities of our house and our children during this season. And because it lined up with the Daniel's fast, all that extra time that I had from not being on social media and not watching so much TV, I learned how to reallocate that time to myself. I could not commit it outside of my home or to showing up for family and friends in the very unhealthy way that I was doing before. Because I was a friend where you can call at any time and I was going to drop everything that I was doing to come running to help you, which sounds like a good friend, but I was overextending myself. I was being so supportive that it was to my detriment. I was the friend where I was showing up to help you set up your event and disregarding my business. I was showing up to help you clean your house when my house was in shambles. Make it make sense. I was pouring out so much into all my various relationships and commitments that there was nothing left to replenish myself. And the one thing that I have learned hands down on my glow up journey is that I can only control me. I cannot expect other people that I'm pouring into to pour back into me. That is a job that is on me and in my relationship with God. It falls on nobody else, not my husband, not my friends, not my mother. Nobody else is responsible for replenishing me. I have released everyone, every human person of that responsibility and of that expectation. And that has been one of the key things to my glow up because I prioritize my self-care, I prioritize my mental health, I prioritize my spiritual health because I'm the only one that realistically I know I can depend on, and I'm not going to let myself down because these things are important to me. I can't show up in this world in the way that I want to, in that dream version of myself, if I am not taking the time to commit to me. So make yourself a priority on your to-do list, sis. I will always preach that and I will always hammer that point down. Your self-care is going to be the key to getting you to that dream version of yourself. Your time is the most valuable resource that you have. Money will come and go, but you can never get time back. And if you spread yourself too thin, you suffer. Your responsibilities, they suffer. And I am not saying to pull away your support from everyone and only focus on yourself. That is not what I am saying at all. Instead of focusing on self-isolating, I want you to focus on finding authentic role models and mentors and building a supportive community. Now, I can go deeper into the topic of finding good quality friendships, especially in our adulthood, while we're all busy in another video. Let me know if that's a video that you want as well. But I found a really good way to build community is first to be open. And that is coming from somebody who is an introvert, who has had to learn how to be open and receptive to new relationships, okay? Sis, you need to find a hobby. Pursuing activities that you love, like swimming, tennis, golf, my little dance class, pottery, painting. Finding these type of activities are not only an act of self-care because they bring a sense of personal joy, and especially when they are external or set apart from some type of success or achievement, they also open you up to build relationships with other women or people. With other people, it's an easy connecting point. You already have a similar interest, this activity, which could also mean that you may have similar value systems. I have made so many connections in this past year alone because I was open and receptive of them. But every one of these women that I have connected to over the past year has been centered around an activity. And to be honest, they have been so important to even this part of my glow up journey and leveling up in my personal and my professional life. The thing that community can give you that isolation cannot is accountability. You want to glow up? Get you an accountability partner and see how much it makes a difference. Connect with someone who is going to help you stay focused, who is going to be a sister, somebody who empathizes with your situation, but they also are going to give you a fresh perspective that you just cannot get sometimes when you're mulling something over and over in your head. I cannot tell you how many times just in the last 3 months alone that God has used one of these women that I've connected with to confirm something that he's already been telling me, to put my name in rooms that I didn't even know about or wasn't aware that they existed, or to even connect me with the resources that I needed to level up. Being open to these spaces and these relationships will help you connect to the right role models and peers who have successfully or are currently navigating similar phases of life. But there is one thing that will always keep you from becoming the woman of your dreams, and it's your decision making, which is what we deep dive into in this video. So make sure that you watch this next to learn specific steps on how to make better decisions that are aligned with your personal goals and your authentic self.